They thought we were past our prime. Quiet. Settled. Done surprising anyone. So we gave them something they'd never forget. And they didn't look away. If you're one of the regulars, hit like and subscribe. It's the best way to support the channel, and it helps more than you know. And if you're new here, welcome. I hope you enjoy this one. Let's get into it. It's honestly exhausting, Mrs. Blake said, flopping back into the arm of the couch like she was performing for the room. She let out a theatrical sigh. Every night, like we're trying to win a medal or something. Mr. Blake smirked without looking up from his drink. What can I say? Some of us are still in our prime. Their laughter was just a little too loud, just a little too pointed. It wasn't a joke between them. It was a performance for us. Tom sat beside me on the other couch, one ankle rested casually over his knee, a quiet presence. But I could feel it, how still he went when she kept talking. Mrs. Blake raised her glass slightly and grinned at us and the hearts. But hey, I mean, at least you guys don't have to worry about that stuff anymore, right? I tilted my head. She kept going. I mean, you've put in your time. Now you get to just relax. Enjoy the quieter parts of life. No need to keep up with all the... She made a vague little hand motion, smirking. Nightly expectations. There was a soft laugh from Mr. Blake, and he muttered, "They've earned it," like it was a compliment. Across from us, Mr. Hart glanced at his wife, then down at the floor. She gave a tight smile and shifted in her seat, her hand barely brushing his knee. Neither of them argued. If anything, they looked like they agreed, like they'd accepted it. But we hadn't. I slid my hand slowly across Tom's thigh, settling against him as I set my glass aside. Actually, I said, my voice soft but deliberate, we still do it almost every night. Mrs. Blake blinked. Mr. Blake stared, the smile draining slightly from his face. I turned to Tom and ran my hand up his chest. This one's a beast in bed. I heard someone inhale, sharp and shallow. Tom chuckled low in his throat, finally meeting Mr. Blake's gaze. We've been together 21 years, he said calmly, and I'd say the last 5 have been the best. Mrs. Blake laughed, but it sounded thinner now. Wait, seriously? Every night? She looked me up and down, then glanced at Tom. I mean, you still look amazing, but there's no way he's keeping up with that. She smiled like she was doing us a favor by pretending to believe it. I let the silence stretch. Then I smiled. You'd be surprised what he's capable of. Tom leaned forward slightly, his voice calm. She makes it easy to keep up. Mr. Blake gave a half laugh, almost nervous. Yeah, well, I don't think I could believe it without seeing it. I tilted my head. No? You really think I'm bluffing? He didn't answer, but he didn't look away either. I let the silence stretch. Let the tension thicken just enough. Then I smiled. You know, I wasn't planning on putting on a show tonight. I stepped in front of Tom, smoothing my hand over his shoulder. But since you asked so nicely, I looked toward Mr. Blake. Don't say I didn't give you a chance to back out. Tom leaned back, arms stretched along the couch, completely relaxed, like he knew exactly where this was going, like he'd been waiting for it all night. I turned toward him and ran my fingers slowly down his chest. The room went still. Then I dropped to my knees. Mrs. Hart let out a soft gasp. What are you doing? I didn't look away from Tom. Putting on a show. And I reached for his zipper. I didn't say a word, just reached in and wrapped my hand around him. He was already firm beneath my hand. Steady. Ready. Waiting. I let my fingers settle there, slow and steady, giving them time to realize what they were seeing. Then I looked over my shoulder and smiled. No one moved. I lowered myself without hesitation. No teasing. No build-up. Just deliberate motion and full focus. Gasps. Shifting. A breath caught somewhere behind me, but I didn't stop. My lips grazed the surface. Soft. Slow. Teasing. Then again, slower this time. My tongue followed, slow and purposeful, savoring the closeness. Tom exhaled softly, the sound buried low in his chest. He leaned back into the couch, one hand resting against the armrest. Breathing changed. Longer. Slower. Deeper. I let my hand and mouth move together. Smooth. Steady. not rushed. Every movement, every breath, every pause, I made them all count. Like I was building something just for him and letting them all watch me do it. Tom adjusted in his seat, subtle but unmistakable. That's when his hand came down, just fingertips at first, resting at the back of my head, not pushing, just there. Anchoring me, leading gently, and I followed. He guided the rhythm, and I followed it like a song we both remembered. We moved together like this was muscle memory, like we were performing something we'd perfected over the years. The room behind me had gone quiet, but not empty. I could feel their eyes. I could feel how still they'd gone, like the air had stopped moving. And still I didn't break focus. Not for a second. When I finally pulled back, I rose slow and smooth, not looking at anyone but him. I stood, unbuttoned my blouse, and let it fall to the floor. Then my skirt. Then everything else. I eased myself onto his lap, settling across him with practiced ease. Nothing between us now. His hands gripped my thighs. Tight. Grounded. Ready. I looked up, met every pair of eyes in the room. Hope you enjoyed the warm-up. And I settled, drawn closer by gravity and something else entirely. I moved over him in rhythm, measured and grounded. My thighs wrapped around his hips, knees rooted into the cushions, hands planted firmly on his chest. Every motion was intentional, controlled, and weighted. Tom's grip on my waist grew firmer with each pass. His breathing deepened beneath me, but he didn't lead. He let me move how I wanted, like he trusted me to set the pace. I leaned forward until my chest brushed his, my forehead resting gently against his for a breath. Then I rocked back again, adjusting the angle, letting more of my body respond to his. He released a slow breath through his nose. Quiet, but thick with tension. I kept going. The room had fallen still, not empty, not silent, but suspended. Somewhere behind me, the couch creaked. A whispered, "Oh my God." Then another voice, sharper, disbelieving. "I can't believe they're actually doing this." I didn't stop. If anything, I moved with more precision. Bolder now, sharper at the edges. My spine curved as I let my head tip back, drawing the motion out with purpose. Tom's hands slid along my sides, anchoring me with a heat that made my breath catch low in my chest. His body had gone taut beneath me. Tense. Focused. Holding on. "You're unreal," he murmured. I didn't answer. I only shifted again. Deeper. Slower. More complete. Letting him feel all of it. Then he sat up, arms locking around my back. He pulled me close and kissed just behind my ear. "Come here," he whispered. I nodded. He rose with me in his arms, our connection unbroken, and stepped off the couch. He lowered to his knees and eased me down onto the rug, laying me out gently in the center of the room. The carpet was warm against my back. I adjusted without effort, legs parting with instinctive ease, open to him. That's when I saw them. Mrs. Hart, on her knees, lips drifting down her husband's stomach. His hand rested softly in her hair. Mrs. Blake sat tense, legs crossed tight, her face unreadable but flushed. Mr. Blake was leaning forward, elbows braced, eyes fixed and unmoving. I looked at them all, and I smiled. They doubted us. Now, they couldn't look away. Tom knelt between my legs, one palm pressing gently into my thigh, the other braced near my ribs. Our eyes met. Then he moved toward me again, slower this time, like he was savoring the moment, measuring every inch of the space that still existed between us. And when he finally closed it, he did so with full weight, pressing into me with a deliberate, complete presence that made my breath catch. His body aligned with mine, chest to chest, skin to skin, heat radiating from him and sinking into me until I couldn't tell where I ended and he began. His weight was grounding, anchoring us both to the rug beneath us, as if the world outside that small space had dissolved. I wrapped my legs around his waist instinctively, not just to keep him close, but to tether us to the moment, to the urgency and the intimacy that pulsed between us. The room faded around the edges. Light dimmed, sounds muted, and time slowed until the only thing that existed was the rhythm building between our bodies. It was slow, steady, almost reverent. Like our bodies were speaking a language older than words, breathing the same breath, moving to the same unspoken beat. Every motion from him sent a ripple through me, igniting something buried deep, something I hadn't realized was waiting to be woken. His hand slid up, finding my wrist, and weaving our fingers together above my head, firm yet gentle. It wasn't just a touch. It was a claim, quiet and certain. With the other hand, he anchored me by the thigh, holding me in place with a strength that wasn't demanding but decisive, the kind that didn't ask for permission because it already knew the answer. And in that space, in that silence, we weren't just close. We were entirely, irreversibly connected. I arched into him without thinking, my body reacting before my mind could catch up, the motion drawing us deeper into each other. A gasp caught in my throat, sharp, breathless, as my back curved and pressed us even closer. His mouth hovered at the hollow of my neck, not quite touching, not quite kissing, just breathing. But that soft exhale, that subtle warmth brushing against my skin, sent a shiver spiraling down my spine. There was a tension in him, controlled, restrained, but palpable, like a storm barely held in check. Every slight tremor in his body didn't just stay within him. It transferred into me, echoing in my chest, in my limbs, down to my toes. He wasn't distracted or distant. He wasn't anywhere else but here. His focus was absolute, his presence undeniable, like the entire world had narrowed down to just the space we occupied. I tilted my head slightly, catching a sliver of the room in my peripheral vision. Mrs. Hart had taken her place above her husband now, her movements wild and fluid, as though she'd surrendered to something primal and free. Her body rose and fell in rhythm with the steady grip of his hands at her waist. It wasn't awkward or shy. It was fearless. They weren't performing. They weren't holding back. They were lost in it, completely and utterly consumed by each other. In sharp contrast, the Blakes sat rigid, unmoving on the other side of the room. Their discomfort radiated like a cold front. Mrs. Blake's arms were crossed tightly over her chest, fingers clenching the fabric of her blouse, lips drawn into a thin, bloodless line. She didn't even blink. Her eyes were fixed on nothing and everything all at once. Beside her, Mr. Blake leaned forward, elbows on his knees, hands clasped so tightly his knuckles had gone white. He stared straight ahead, not daring to shift, not daring to speak. They looked trapped, like statues carved in fear, stripped of air and awareness. It was striking, almost surreal. The youngest couple in the room, me and him, completely undone, bare in our connection, while the oldest sat bound in silence. One pair rediscovering something ancient and vital, the other slowly suffocating in their own stillness. I turned back to Tom, and his eyes were still locked on mine, steady, intense, like nothing in the room existed except me. He hadn't looked away, not once. That gaze, like an anchor, held me in place as everything else inside me shifted and surged. The weight of him, the heat radiating from his skin, the pressure that had been building between us, it hadn't eased. It had only grown heavier, deeper, as if we were suspended on the edge of something that couldn't be undone. Then, without a word or the faintest signal, his arms moved beneath me. One slipped under my shoulders, the other hooked beneath my hips. He gathered me with such care, but with a strength that left no room for doubt. And in one seamless, fluid motion, he turned me over like it was the most natural thing in the world, like my body had always been meant to move beneath his hands. My palms caught the rug with a soft thud, knees spreading wide for balance, instinct guiding every motion. The shift hit me like a current, a jolt that traveled up my spine and burst into heat at the base of my throat. I exhaled sharp, trembling, but steadying as I felt him draw in behind me, close enough that I could feel his breath ghost along the curve of my back. He didn't hesitate. Not for a second. He was all certainty now, unshakable, resolute. There was nothing tentative in him, nothing held back. I could feel it in the way he aligned with me, in the way his presence loomed like something sacred, something claiming. "Don't hold back," I whispered, voice thick and low, barely audible over the hammering pulse in my ears.
And he didn't.
His hands found my hips, fingers pressing deep into my skin, anchoring me with a grip that was commanding without cruelty, possessive without force. And then everything changed. The pace, the energy, the rhythm. It was no longer slow or careful. It became something else entirely, driven, powerful, unrelenting. Every motion came with purpose. There was no faltering, no space for doubt. Just the sound of our bodies meeting, rhythmic and steady, like thunder muted beneath cotton, low and rumbling through the air. It filled the room, wrapped around us, wrapped around me. My arms shook with the effort of holding myself up, elbows bent, muscles taut, fingers splayed across the rug to stay grounded. But every movement pushed me closer to unraveling. My body tensed, braced, stretched, then opened again. Over and over. Each shift more consuming than the last. And then I glanced over my shoulder. She was still there. Mrs. Blake. Frozen in place, her eyes wide and locked to mine, lips parted in shock, or maybe awe. She wasn't sneering. She wasn't judging. She wasn't recoiling. She was witnessing. It was raw and strange and unexpected, that moment between us. A quiet acknowledgement in the middle of chaos. She saw me, saw all of me, and I held her gaze unflinching. I didn't look away.
I didn't need to.
Because I wanted her to see. Then I turned forward again, pressing my palms deeper into the rug, grounding myself as everything else around us slipped into a blur. The weight of the moment, of him, of us, pushed down like gravity made heavier by intention. I let the rest of the room vanish. Their stares, their silence, even the breathless witness behind me. All of it faded, like smoke curling into shadow. The tempo rose, sharpened into something fierce and consuming. It wasn't gentle anymore. It was need made real, urgency given shape. His grip on my hips held steady, unyielding, fingers pressing into flesh with a conviction that said he knew exactly what he wanted, and he wasn't afraid to take it. My lungs seized, breath staggered as my body strained beneath the growing intensity. Muscles clenched, spine arched, every inch of me pulled taut like a bowstring. I hovered right at the edge, of control, of sensation, of something I couldn't name but could feel coming like a wave, too powerful to outrun. And then, something inside me simply let go. A sound tore from my throat, unplanned and raw. Half a breath, half a cry. A release that echoed louder than I meant, but not louder than I needed. I folded forward, trembling, caught in the collapse of restraint. My forehead touched the rug, heat washing over me in a pulse that felt like fire and light combined, breathless, brilliant, all-consuming.
For a heartbeat, he stilled.
Just long enough for me to pull in one shallow, broken breath. It felt like the pause between lightning and thunder, fractions of time stretched wide. Then he moved again. Harder this time.
Deeper.
With more purpose, more hunger, more life pulsing through every thrust. There was no retreat, no hesitation. He drove forward with a rhythm that was less about control now and more about claiming, about connection, about continuing what we had started and finishing it with nothing held back. And he didn't stop. Not when I gasped. Not when I buckled. Not even when the room itself seemed to hold its breath. Now, be honest. If you were in his place, surrounded by people, every eye on you, every breath held, what would you have done? Would you have softened your touch, tempered your desire, held something back to maintain appearances? Or would you have gone further? Let it all burn, let them watch? Tell me in the comments, I want to know. I'll be reading every word. And before you go, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. That way, you'll never miss what comes next. Thanks for watching. See you soon.